I'm now going to take you through standing alignment. So you're going to bring your feet together, heels come out, and then toes come out to meet them. From here, we're just going to take a little rock backwards and forwards, so just feeling where the weight is in your foot, and then slowly bringing yourself to a standstill where that weight is evenly balanced between your heel and your toe. Once you've come to here, we're going to think about moving the weight into the outside of the foot so that the knees track the toes, keeping them soft. Then just a gentle tuck and tilt to keep an eye on where you're placing that pelvis. And we're going to slowly make that movement slower until your tailbone is pointing down towards the floor, restacking those vertebrae, growing towards the ceiling. Next, we're going to make sure the arms are staying next to your side, so your shoulder blades are coming back and down. Just give those shoulders a little wiggle. And then next, we're going to go through the pelvic floor, core, and breathing. So as we inhale, we're going to feel that rib cage expand into the sides, back and front. The diaphragm moves down and so does the pelvic floor. As you exhale, you're thinking about pulling your ribs to hips and pulling in the pelvic floor. So we're thinking sit bone to sit bone, pubic bone to tailbone. Again, we're going to inhale, feel that rib cage expand, and then exhale, draw those ribs in, engage that pelvic floor, thinking sit bone to sit bone, pubic bone to tailbone. Again, inhale, release, and exhale, engage. Inhale, release, and exhale, engage. Couple more breaths here with me. There's quite a lot of information to take in with the breathing, core and pelvic floor and how it works together. So don't panic if you can't nail this today. This is something that we're going to work on as we move through the course. Just keep thinking, I need to be breathing as I'm exercising, and keep thinking about pulling in those pelvic floor and core muscles at the same time. So pelvic floor, sit bone to sit bone, pubic bone to tailbone. Core, we're thinking rib to hip, hip to hip, belly button to spine. And now we're ready for our workout. I'm now going to take you through some squats with a raised heel. Now, if you find this too challenging to do with a raised heel, then please leave your heels on the floor, work on that leg power, and then come back to trying these with a raised heel. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by coming into a wide stance, so coming to about shoulder width apart with your legs, keeping your pelvis underneath you, and then we're going to take your pelvis backwards, bring your chest forward slightly, and come down into that squat position, trying to use a full range of movement. So try and go as low as you can. As you can see from my little wobbles, this is not easy when you are on the balls of your feet only and not letting those heels touch the floor. If at any point you need to, just bring those heels down for a little rest. This is going to work into your calves, your quads, your glutes and your hamstrings. So really working on those power leg muscles. Really seeing if you can come down into a deep squat. Keeping that balance, using your core muscle. So thinking about pulling your hip bones together, pulling your ribs down towards your hips. Keeping that core switched on to help with the balance here. Trying to improve that range of movement every time that you come down lower, always holding it there for a second before coming back up. And then once you've finished your set, just coming into your rest pose. Next, we're going to do a lunge with rotation. So starting in your neutral spine position, stepping forward with your right leg, and then we're going to rotate that upper body over the right leg, making sure your hip, knee and foot stay in alignment as you rotate. We're going to hold that rotation for somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds and then swap to the other side. This is a really good exercise for building strength in your legs, as well as improving that rotational mobility of your thoracic spine. Every time you step out into your lunge, making sure that your foot, knee and hip stay in alignment. Coming into a low lunge, or as low as you feel is right for you. So you can feel those legs working, but you can keep going and maintain good balance throughout the move. lunges are a really good exercise for working the legs independently. So you'll know here if you've got a side that is more tricky, and that's probably the side that's slightly weaker, so you can then work on that. So this is a really good way of telling if you've got a side that feels less balanced. This is probably the side you need to work on, and the side of your body that's weaker. As you rotate over that front leg, keeping that knee tracking your toe, make sure that that knee doesn't fall in. If you need to make the steps smaller so that you feel more balanced, that's always an option. Holding that lunge and then pushing back to standing. And we're nearly at the end of our set. So you should really start to feel this in the legs. This is a great exercise for building strength around the knee joint and around the pelvis. Also building core strength, keeping that core switched on as you rotate. Building that lovely mobility through the thoracic spine. You're doing really great. We are nearly at the end of our set. Keep stepping forward. See if you can get lower for these last couple of lunges. We're going to see if we can go a little bit lower. It's my challenge for you. Get a little bit lower for the next couple. And then once you've finished, coming into your rest pose. We're now going to go through shoulder bridge, which is one of my favourite exercises. So I'm going to come to laying down on the mat. Feet are hip distance apart, pelvis is in neutral, and arms are just gently resting on the floor. Turning your palm up if you feel like you're going to push your hands down into the mat. We're then going to take a gentle inhale, and then on your exhale, you're going to slowly roll up by each vertebrae at a time until you're at the top of your bridge. At the top of your bridge, you should feel the weight in your shoulders and your feet, not in your neck. We're going to hold it there for an inhale, and then slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, we're going to pop those vertebrae back down onto the floor until your pelvis rolls into its neutral position, where that little gap is behind the lower back, but you're not arching your back. Holding at the top for an inhale, and then exhale slowly back down. Shoulder bridge is a great move for building mobility of the spine, so it's going to gently move the spine and mobilize those facet joints. Keep pushing down into your toes as you roll up and down. This is going to help to engage those hamstrings, get them involved, get those muscles working. You should also feel this in your glutes as well. And once you're finished, we're going to hug the knees into your chest, give yourself a little back rock for your own count of 10 to 15 seconds, and then come back to sitting. I'm now going to take you through swan dive. So we're going to come down onto the mat, laying on your front. Toes are tucked in, that switches off the glutes. And then you're going to bring your elbows so it's just in front of your shoulder. So you've got a gentle bend in the elbows. We're going to take an inhale at the bottom. So filling those lungs, feeling that belly expand a little bit. Then exhale, engage your core and lift your head, neck and shoulders up off the floor, keeping your head in line with the rest of your spine. You should feel the work coming from that upper back. If you feel like you're really squeezing your glutes or your feet are lifting off the floor, I want you to try coming up not quite so high and really turn those toes in to really help to switch those glutes off. You might find you get a little bit of tension in that lower back, but it shouldn't feel like pinching, and it shouldn't be painful. If it is either of these things, please get in touch and I will give you a different move. Holding at the bottom for an inhale, and then we're exhaling, engaging that core and pelvic floor and lifting. When we're thinking about core and pelvic floor, we're thinking pelvic floor, sit bone to sit bone, pubic bone to tailbone. And then with our core, we're thinking about pulling those hip bones together, pulling your ribs down towards your hips. Coming into lifting the arm, you can either lift a double or you can lift single. It's entirely up to you. See how it feels and decide where you want to work. I'm going to, for the rest of the demonstrations, do a double arm lift. And again, you could just lift both arms, but maybe not do the stretch forward if you feel like that is not quite right for you yet. The work should all be coming from that upper back, trying to keep that lower body switched off. And you're keeping your head in line with the rest of your spine. So make sure you're not lifting your head and looking ahead of yourself. If you can see what's out of the window or what's in your room in front of your head, in front of your mat, then you're looking in the wrong direction. Your eye line should be down at the floor. Once you finish, we're going to pull back into our child's pose as our release stretch. And we're going to hold this for your own count of somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. This is one of my favourite rotational mobility exercises for your spine. We're going to do book. So we're going to come down onto the mat, making sure your hip and shoulder are in a line and that your head stays in line with the rest of your spine. So you're going to need a cushion under that head. Arms come out parallel. And we're going to stretch that top arm forward and then reach it up so your hand is in line with your shoulder. And then the rotation is coming through your mid-spine. So think about your rib cage moving, gently bringing that arm back behind you, making sure your hips stay stacked one on top of the other. We're going to hold that at the back for an inhale. And then exhale, gently bring that arm up so your hand is in line with the sky. And then gently bring that arm back to the front, fighting gravity as you bring that arm back. Every time you rotate back, you can either leave your head facing forward or you can take your hand with you. It's entirely up to you. As you come back, remember you're rotating through that mid-spine until your hand is in line with your shoulder, and then you're gently closing that arm down. You should get a nice stretch across the chest as you bring that arm back behind you. And then once we've finished our set, we're going to roll over onto the other side, making sure your hip and shoulder are in line. And again, stretching that arm forward, reaching up to the sky, and then letting that spine rotate backwards. So you coming from your rib cage, nice opening chest stretch, keeping your hips stacked one on top of the other. And then again, using your spinal mobility to bring that arm back to facing the ceiling, and then slow controlled movement of the hand back to our starting location. Making sure your shoulders remain relaxed, so don't bring your shoulder up towards your ear as you rotate back. Keeping your knees glued together. So the rotation comes through that mid-spine, and we're going to exhale, engage your core and rotate back, making sure that you're using those core muscles to stabilize the movement. And once you've finished your set, coming up into your rest pose.